So sometimes, we want to try to impress, right? But at the same time, be conscious about being authentic at the same time. You don't want to suddenly switch personality simply because you're trying to impress a person. One day you will be caught out. So try to be as authentic, right? Not trying too hard to actually switch your mindset, your personality. So I think the perception is something that you also have to maintain, right?
Welcome back to another episode of Wise and Shine. I'm your host, Dawn, SG Budget Babe, and I have Reggie.
Yeah, I am your co-host, Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut. Clearly, I cannot leave the show. I've been trying to retire, but I'm still back today. Yes. Important episode, so yes.
Yes, and today to start off the new year, we have a topic that I'm sure everybody is very curious about.
Important.
Which is how to impress your new boss in the new year.
Important.
Or at any time, actually. Now you got new boss kata put in, must impress already. So to help us with this topic, we have two guests on the show. Those of you who have been following for a long time, you might recognize some of them.
Yes, hi, I'm Stanley. I am the chiefly overemployed.
Is that your new title?
Yeah, chiefly overemployed. Because I'm an overemployed guy, you all should watch the previous few episodes.
Yeah, 4 careers.
Yes, I'm still 4 jobs right now. Then I still do freelance. So yes, everything is still the same. Status quo.
Yeah, in other words, he has a lot of people to impress.
Yes, it's a very impressive
4
career.
bosses to impress and many clients
Actually,
to
more
impress.
than 4 bosses, you think about it.
Every client is a boss, right? So there's a lot of people to impress.
10,
Yes.
20. Okay, so he's a very good candidate for today's topic. And we have Henry.
Yeah, so my name is Henry. So I only have one job, but I have one side job. So I'm the head of engineering at LXA, a small startup. Maybe you will hear us sometime in the new year, hopefully. At the side, I also do podcasts called Techly Journal. It's a tech podcast. So it's been running for 4.5 years now.
One of the biggest tech podcasts out there.
The biggest.
Yeah. 200 episodes and running. Crazy. So I'm sure we all have a lot of people to impress. Right? Today I'm the one waiting to be impressed.
Yes, boss.
Hey,
yes,
nobody
boss.
joining me on this.
Yes, boss.
Hey.
Please be happy. Performance appraiser, A+.
Give me a reaction.
Hey, he's very good. Yeah, see, that's why he's
This is the
right
angka. This is
candidate.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, very important.
Okay. No. But jokes aside, I do think there is a very reasonable, expectation of how you should align with your managers, right? How you should help them meet their goals. You should at least make them feel like, wow, this person is worthy, right? And sometimes it is performance. Right, but other times there's also the social element, and then there's also some performative element. I think it's just being human, right? I'm always very concerned when people overly lean it down to like, my KPI, I hit my KPI, why you never promote me? Right? It's like, we've talked about this. It's not always just KPI, correct? So how you want to impress me today?
Oh, shots fired!
Okay.
Let's talk about
She has routed out of me.
let's
Please
talk about
continue.
the first impressions.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So I think the question is, how do you do it such that it is a memorable and positive first impression without your new boss thinking that, wow, this one wayang?
I think trying too hard is very common thing. Like I remember my first job, right, when I was working at a certain bank many years ago.
Singapore only got 3 big banks. I mean, got many other banks.
This one not
but
Singapore
yes.
big bank.
Oh, okay.
Wow, this one straight away. Okay, so when I was working there, right, I think the first thing
Go to his LinkedIn profile, you can see.
I think I didn't put it there.
Okay.
Okay, so when I was working there, I think the first thing I did was the mistake. I think it's a mistake. I bought drinks for everybody. I bought coffee for everyone. Yeah, but I don't even know their order. I just buy for everyone. Yeah. This one is not a good move because it's your first job, so you wanted to impress. So it's normal.
Just side question. Do the Indonesians also use wayang like that?
Of course.
So like, when you say someone is very like extra, like try to perform,
Maybe
like,
not
wayang
wayang is the term, but more like... I don't know what's the
what's
term.
the slang? There's no slang.
Like a fake also, But maybe there's a more hippie terms. I don't know.
Hippie term. Gen Z, if you're watching this, please comment below.
This is
The
not
Gen A.
This is not hippie already. People these days don't even know what is hippie. Right?
What is the new cool kids?
Okay. What's your take?
My take is, I think it's pretty natural in a professional setup. Everyone wants to thrive, right? So by thrive, the first thing who gets the best, how should I say, the best person who can help you thrive is actually your boss, your manager, right? So to impress your boss, I think it's very important. But at the same time, sometimes some boss likes to be praised more, but some actually don't like. So they know straight away that you're trying too hard to impress them.
Yeah, so how do you impress someone new whom you have never met? You're meeting for the first time and you have no idea how he or she will react.
Yeah, so I think for me, maybe the first thing is always about the connection, right? So when you introduce yourself, or maybe when he introduces yourself, how is your first impression to each other, right? I mean, you judge a person in the first 30 seconds or something like that, right? So making a good intro, I think, is very important because then you leave an impression for the boss and also the same thing lah. And I think whatever that you communicate with each other, try to, kind of like reply back in a more intelligent manner rather than, like just yes, yes, yes. And I think that to me, the first impression is always very important. And obviously, if you connect through, I don't know, like hobbies, interests, or maybe some certain projects that you're working together, I think that will be much better.
Actually, if I just thought about it, right? Actually, if you are a new hire to our organization, it's not so bad, right? Because you go through the interview process, your immediate boss and probably one layer above, plus your HR manager, they all have to sign off against you, right? Right. So you've been through multiple layers, so you already form a first impression with them. That's why they hire you.
But sometimes the manager is not the one who interviewed you. It could happen.
It depends on organization mix. But maybe to add on a little bit more. So first impression, right, is beyond just, communication and things is just 30%. But it's always the unseen communication that forms 70%, like your body language, how open are you, the way you dress for occasion. So my tip for people who are new to job or first career, or maybe career switching, but you want to impress, right? One of the things you can take note, right, is always simple things like your wardrobe, like what sort of wardrobe you're going to be wearing. Are you going to be like at least styling your hair up for guys? For ladies also, like, not to try to sound like you need to do makeup, but at least you need to look presentable. Small little gestures like this, right, forms pretty huge impression, because although we don't judge a book by its cover, but
we judge a book by its cover.
But
Full stop. We judge a book by its cover.
And I think the no makeup, no must have makeup.
Yeah, but I think looking impressionable is something that's important, especially during the first visit or step into the office. Because when your colleagues, they see you for the first time, not just your bosses, but your immediate peers, they form a mental subconscious note on whether like they like working with you or not, whether you are friendly, whether approachable. These are other cues that you can bring about. Like, for example, your openness to having a conversation. When they ask you things, you try your best to be as open as possible, right? Small little things like this, I think, form that impression of you. And of course, later on, will then be your professionalism, your skill sets and stuff. But I think that first layer is usually the things that I do for myself these days. Like whenever I go to any new organization or meeting a new client or anybody new, I'll always try to do my best to fit that occasion, that team.
Even Zoom calls these days, right? Yes. Cannot just like appear some shabby t-shirt, right? So I gotta constantly remind myself.
Unless you're meeting a tech CEO boss where, they like to dress.
That's their subculture. Right?
Yeah. Then if you don't fit in, if I dress like this to meet a tech boss, they will feel I'm overdressed for the occasion. So based on your understanding of whether you're meeting a certain person or you're joining which kind of job culture, you can dress for that occasion. Fit that part, right? Yeah.
Okay, that situation is if you're the newbie going into a place where everyone else knows each other, right? But what if it's the other way around? Everyone's already in and the new boss is catapulted in. Then no one knows except the higher ups who are not sharing the info. You how to impress that new boss who just walked through the door?
Okay, I think there are two parts. Usually the new...
I love how at this point in time, no one cares about my thoughts.
Oh no!
Nobody asked me how I think. Okay? But yes, please carry on, please. Yes.
So I think in terms of a new boss, right, there's two elements. The new boss is also trying to impress the team as well. So as a fellow team player, if you want to impress the boss, sometimes it's allowing the boss to fit into the culture. Like you can be the person to subtly bring the boss into the culture. That's how I would do it. Usually I do that because my bosses change quite frequently. So what I do is that when there's a new boss coming in, the very important thing is letting them be able to immerse in the culture quickly. The moment they can immerse quickly in culture, your life gets easier also.
So from me, obviously, the first thing is to build relationship, right? So it could be, through a small group setup or even set up a one-on-one, maybe like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, have a coffee, have a chat, and introduce each other. The next thing, I think, like echoing what you said, right? The first boss who comes into already a well set up team, right, or organization, they are pretty much clueless. So it's maybe will be useful for you to be helpful to the person, right? Trying to, like maybe do you have any problems, be it your, electronics, your equipment, or maybe just getting to know each other. Because large organizations, so many people, so many managers, peers, subordinates, and all that. So I think being helpful is definitely one thing you can use as a tips to.
Is that your personal desire? Because you were also parachuted into a...
I mean, as a boss, I'm just putting my head, right? As a new boss coming in large organizations, obviously pretty much clueless, except I know the one who interviewed me, maybe my boss, right?
I don't know who else I'm working with, but I have
So
already
who
a big
in
team.
your team left the best first impression on you?
Oh.
And how was that done?
Yeah, so I think like I said, right, the person who is more helpful, sometimes without me even asking, right? Like sometimes we don't know what we don't know in the organization. So it could be like, okay, here are the projects that are currently running, or here are the problems that we are currently facing. This is the status. Or it could be these are the OKRs that the company has set up maybe, I don't know, a few months ago, because you were not there. You will not necessarily know them, right? So kind of like these kind of tips definitely useful. And sometimes if I ask questions, for me, it's always like in the Slack channel, right? So sometimes when you ask question in a channel, the first few who respond and give me good answers typically are the one who kind of like, stuck in the back of my mind lah.
But I think that nuance itself is a very interesting thing.
What is a good answer?
What is a good answer in terms of being helpful? I mean, like, it has to be a genuinely an answer that helps. So if that explains, right? So it should not be like
from just a technical ground, is it?
not just technical. It could be like, oh, I need help with my equipment. Even if the person doesn't know, like, don't try to impress by, suddenly become an expert on that thing, right? Route it to someone who actually knows. So it's simple things like that actually helps rather than, always you fixing the problem.
Yeah, I think actually what you shared reminds me of a colleague I know, where she is able to impress almost anyone new who comes in, who interacts with her because of that. She's like we always call her the unofficial help desk. Don't know anything, go and find her. Yeah, and every single time a new person comes in.
Can we have her on the show?
She's not in Singapore.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, overseas. So every single time someone comes in, right, who is new, she's very adept at helping that person to get adjusted into the OKRs, the processes, and the ins and outs of the organization that's very corporate work related.
Is she like ops related, like her role?
Yeah, she's in ops.
Because that's very methodical, right?
Yes, correct. So it's very good. And like what Henry you said is she's also very good at offering, because people don't know what they don't know. I remember when I first joined, she offered to walk me through the system demos when I was very lost. Yeah, and that helped. And I've seen
Plus
how she has
5
done the
points.
way.
Aura plus 1,000.
Yeah, I think being helpful is a very good tip. And then even your tip also, introducing them to who is very good. What else would you add on?
Oh, finally you care
Yeah,
about
your
what I have to
turn.
say. Wait, but before we continue, I just want to get consensus. That means all of you all don't like wayang kids.
He got say what? Don't be the buy coffee for everyone kind of wayang.
No, because
I think the buy coffee portion, to elaborate, it's not that saying buying coffee is bad, okay? Buying coffee is okay once a while to establish and maintain relationship.
Imagine
It's a
you buy
strategy.
coffee, then your boss say, I don't take coffee.
The person I bought, right, actually she don't drink coffee.
But she just smiled and said thank you, right?
She was okay to accept it.
Yeah, no, of course, right. Accept,
'Cause we are all
put aside,
we are all
right?
polite,
Yeah. No, but just to align, right? Because I think based on the little bit of a discussion, all of you don't like try hard people, lah. So, but sometimes it feels like the try hard people move up, ma. You know what I mean?
I think for me, we all have seen it in the industry, right? So there are some people like that, right? I mean, the first few attempts, maybe okay, like, because we just tolerate. But if it happens continuously and like over exaggerating, I like, for me personally, I don't like that person, because
I think there's a difference. It's not try hard. It's try too hard.
No, I think try hard is try too hard.
No?
You know? Oh, okay.
That's a line.
Okay.
An extent where it gets-
Semantics. So you see, right? We can conclude under this idea that it is about understanding the cultural nuance in the shortest period of time, right? Then you know how to act in this environment, right?
Oh, however, I want to add one thing. If you are a new boss entering, right? I mean, I have also joined organizations. Then I'm visiting the team for the first time, let's say in KL, the KL office, right? I did actually buy everybody coffee after that as well. But that one is because I took order of like their tea, their coffee
That
preference.
is different. It's
And
not
I
you
buy
show
for
up.
everybody. Yeah.
And you were the boss or the senior one, right?
Yeah, correct.
I think it's a bit different because the balance of power has to be there. Yeah, the higher one buy for everyone is fine, but when you're the lower one buy up,
Correct.
it's a bit like, are you trying to bribe me?
Yeah, correct. exactly.
No, but I think so. So ultimately, it is about the cultural nuance, right? Like the tech organization will have their own style, right? Then like just now you were saying 15-minute, 30-minute calls. Like in media, right? 15 minutes can talk what, right? Like we're gonna go for drinks tonight, right? You know, it's different, right? So like that is a very tech call thing, right? And then like finance people will say, let's have lunch later, right? So it's a very different industry. There is a subculture, and if you're not new to the industry, I would fathom a guess that you already understand the subculture in this industry, right? So don't be trying too hard, lah, right? So that is the baseline. Right, we can agree on that, right? There is a subculture. It is not saying like this method is definitely better than the other. It is understanding what's going on and then trying to work within that culture so that you don't overly stand out or unnecessarily, right? And so it is a two-way system, right? Whether is it you are the joinee entering the thing trying to impress the boss, or the boss coming in trying to do it, it's the same thing, right? So my rule of thumb, right, is watch and learn. Don't try to stand out. You're already the boss. So I'm speaking from my point of view. You're already the boss. You don't need to impress anybody, right? There must be some reason that you are here. What you need to do is to let them understand the reason you are here.
If I may add on to the trying too hard thing, right? So sometimes, we want to try to impress, right? But at the same time, be conscious about being authentic at the same time. You don't want to suddenly switch personality simply because you're trying to impress a person. One day you will be caught out, lah. So you can't just change all the time, right? Unless you are good at it, for sure, right?
Some people are just natural actors.
Yeah. So, but I think like being truthful and try to be as authentic, right? Not trying too hard to actually switch your mindset, your personality, even how you dress, right? For example, if I wear t-shirt all the time, suddenly I wear, like, I don't know, a jacket and all that. So obviously it will be like a shock, not just to the boss, but maybe to the others as well, right? So I think the perception is something that you also have to maintain.
No, but okay, so I elaborate on that, right? It's also based on the function of your role, right? So like let's say the classic example, I think it's quite classic. Like Elon Musk brought a sink to the office and drop it down there, right? We're here to wash it clean, right? It's a theater, right? Yeah. So that is his goal. Right. If I today coming to an organization at that level, with hundreds of people in the organization, my hire is to make a big change. Then maybe a performance will be rendered. That maybe when I enter, I need to render a strong performance, right? And then you make everybody line up. Not literally, right? So then you make a clear statement to say that if you are not ready for the change, the door is there. Right? So you can clean up very quickly and then you get down to moving what's going on. And understanding the agenda of your boss, right? The goal of your boss is very important. Because depending on what are they here for, then you decide whether you want to do that. And if you want to do that, what do you need to do? So let's say for a lot of tech companies, when they first start, revenue not so important, right? Build a product. And then one day a chief revenue officer gets hired, right? So that day comes and then you know that the revenue guy is going to come in and whack and make things happen. And once that guy comes in, you better make sure you're ready to buck up like 2-3 times the amount of workload to hit the goals, because suddenly the company is moving into another stage. Right? And if you are not part of that, then you're not impressive. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so it depends on the subculture, and it also depends on the goal of the boss and the organization at that time. Right? Sometimes people take it at a very personal level, right? So, my boss like this one, my boss like coffee. Okay, those are fine, right? Those are small things, well and good, right? Not that it's bad. It is at a human level. I think we all have that element. We are humans. But more often than not, a lot of the bosses come in with a goal, right? They are brought in for a reason, and you need to align with the reason. Then you are impressive. If you do not align with the reason, out you go, no matter how good you are with the previous boss.
Yeah, that's actually a very strong point that I think very relevant, right? Because any boss that comes in, they always look for supporters, right? They don't look for detractors, people who are, like, don't care what your agenda is. I'm just here for my job, right? So I think looking for supporters is something that always new boss wants to do in the first, I don't know, maybe 90 days or whatever days, right? So being able to adapt to, the new boss agenda, trying to understand the rationale behind it, be part of the project if you can help. I think, that's a very good, strong point. Yeah.
There's also another point where, personality hire, you briefly talked about it, right? So there are also instances where personality hire actually thrive in a certain organization because of the way they are or like the way that they bring certain value. So they're always the biggest supporters in everything, but they may not be the most competent, right? That's why they're personality hires, right?
Are we really going down with this name, the personality hires?
Yeah, but I think every organization needs to also have personality hires to show contrast also.
Yeah. No, beyond that, I think if we go down even finer in this discussion, right, it's also about the job function, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Because we are a small company, we have 10 plus people under the team, we have multiple functions. On some level, I treat different functions differently because each function have a subculture. Like you talk to the creatives, right? The creative got their own thing, right? You got to speak their lingo, you must meet, you must, hang out with them in a certain way, they do things in a certain way, you work like that. When you talk to the salespeople, right, it's just whack. It's just numbers. Don't hala. Don't waste my time. I'm just here to close the deal, right? So different functions will then fundamentally create different type of environment, different type of people, different type of bosses. Then you align with that, right? So it's not to say personally it's not good lah, right? Right? Like sometimes they act as a social glue, or sometimes even in like community role, right? Or like even in a marketing role, sometimes you do need this type of people just to kind of close the loop, right? Because there's different
Like
things.
social glue in a sense, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have a different approach to this whole
Impressing
thing.
the boss, okay.
Yeah, because I feel like everybody will be trying to impress the boss from day one.
Oh, you are the slow burner.
Yes,
I like
will
slow
go
burners.
for the slow
Yes.
burn approach because the boss won't remember. Suddenly come in and there's like 10 new faces for him to remember. Everyone listen to this podcast. So they're either trying to be a Stanley and hi, introduce you here and here, or do Henry's method where I'm very helpful here, right? Nothing else to do already. Everybody take first, right? So then you might be perceived as wayang because you don't know how the boss will read it. So my approach actually is I would tend to just stay on the side first. Of course, first impression, the handshake, the smile, introduction, important. But will be more or less the same with everybody. Don't need to stand out. Then what I'll do is I'll read the room. And I'll try to understand this boss, right? What character type or personality type is he? If he's a very dominant kind, right, and very like chop kai pop, efficient, don't go and give me flowery language and that kind of stuff. Don't need to show me lunch, that kind. I will not bother with those tactics.
Yes.
Because it won't work. And then the person who try it on the first day without bothering to read the boss, then that's where you have a buy coffee, boss don't buy coffee, then GG. Right? But then I'll observe first, and then after that, I will start to show the support. So I won't be the first to say like, hey, look, I'm your supporter. Because everyone looking for a supporter, but I won't be the first. I let someone else be that wayang person.
Let them be the one to allow you to read the room.
Yes, correct. So based on how the boss then responds to them, I will then make my move. Yeah, and I'll slowly show progressively, like
So
usually.
Singapore. Let other people try
I
first.
slow
Whatever
burn,
works, then copy.
Because it concerns
Yeah.
my career, right?
Of course. I'm not saying it's wrong.
So I don't want to take risk.
But I think that's a very good point. I think conservative approach is also a good one. I mean, not to say it's wrong and stuff. My approach tends to be more first mover advantage, FMA, right? But yours is the conservative, but definitely will win,
No, it may not be because there's all sorts of considerations from the bosses. I mean, I speak as a leader, right? So I can tell you when my goals change, right? Sometimes my timeline, I don't have timeline to slowly let you impress me, right? Like from last year to this year, my goal was to professionalize the team. So I expect everything to like move, and if you're not ready to step out, I
must say
got no
something
time.
first. The slow burn is not 1 year.
Yeah, of course,
It's like 1 week.
Thank you.
Not clarification.
Cannot too slow. Too slow, you're not participatory. Okay.
And then like first mover is great. But sometimes there's also that risk whereby you don't know if that other person likes the first mover. So I would rather like progressively and consistently show that support. Yeah, like every meeting, don't stay quiet. At least put in a
Don't stay
sentence
quiet.
or
That's a
two.
very key point. Yeah.
To show that I'm on your side, or I'm communicating, or I articulate something that you don't know about, and I contribute in that way. In every lunch, also don't stay quiet. Must put in something. Yeah, but don't need to also be the one with all the words.
Yeah, don't take the limelight away from.
Yes, and always shine it back on the boss. That's a strategy that I learned over time.
So when do you start challenging your boss?
After you earn the
right?
trust.
Important, right? Yeah, yeah. So I want to ask a little bit because I've had multiple hires, and they use different methods, right? So I'm curious, when do you all start challenging? Because I come from a point of view that if you don't challenge your boss, at some point you have no more value, right? Because you are just doing the grind. You're BAU. Okay, not saying you have no value, but you become just a BAU, right? Yeah, you do not rise above. You are rarely part of the inner circle of decision making because you always got to push frontier, right? If you want to be there. So at some point, your value has to be to bring in new insights, bring a different point of view, challenge the ideas, and with the notion of making it better, right? So at what point do you start doing that?
I think for my side, because these days, I talk about now versus last time.
Got difference, man. 4 jobs and 4 jobs.
He learned, learned not to buy coffee already, remember?
Okay.
I think it also depends on the role that you are hired for. Like for me, because this is I'm hired for more strategic level roles, right? Or like strategic roles. So I'm here to challenge you. So basically, my job is essentially to either challenge status quo or to bring new perspectives.
But when do you start challenging?
After you establish your initial rapport and all this preamble, like right to getting to the nitty-gritty itself, I can do it as soon as like the first 2 days of work, to be very frank with you, because my role now is more towards shaping perspective. But in the past, I will usually take the boss perspective up to maybe the first to second month, then I'll start to establish my thoughts. Why? Because I want to understand whether the boss, what sort of personality, like what Don mentioned, right? And also at the end of the day, will they take it as me being very confrontational as well? Like being non-accepting? Because some bosses I worked with, they like you to adopt a 100% stance to what they say, even if it's wrong.
You have a reaction.
No, that's true.
Yeah, and because you want to thrive in your career, right? Whether it's wrong or right, you still get paid your paycheck.
And if the organization has a very traditional Asian mindset, it's not about your race or your culture anymore. It's just the mindset.
It's just mindset, yeah.
Yeah, if they are that kind of very traditional Asian mindset, then challenging a superior is not seen as a good thing.
Yeah, it's actually seen in a negative or derogatory way, in a sense.
And
Yeah.
then there are ways of delivering the feedback to your superiors that you cannot make them look bad. You cannot even have anyone else listen. That's the Asian way, right? But the Western way is in the meeting room, you say out. Yeah. Because they don't care. But in Asia, the 面子 very important. So handling that is another tricky thing.
And if you really, really think this is a die must share feedback, right? You do it privately, maybe even like you do it in a closed room whereby nobody else can hear. Or perhaps even buy the person a dinner or lunch, just privately tell the person, which I've done everything on this, that I just described.
Everything can try what I try already,
Yeah, already
right?
I tried everything. Yeah, so
And sometimes different boss, you gotta try the whole set one more round, right? And then you see what works, right? Then you're like, oh, this one works, this one don't work.
and seasonal one, actually same boss can change one also. Like you mentioned, right?
When my KPIs change, I change lah, right? When I'm in a different season, I change. Yes.
There's this company that I left recently, right? Like in March this year. I was in there for 5 years. My boss changed every year, every 3 months, change a pattern. But every 3 to 6 months, I have to give him a new way to adapt or like share new ways to do things. So I think if you're working with bosses that change, we quite agile, right? They are very agile. The lingo that I don't like the most actually. If they are too agile, you literally need to have a book and take notes on what is the best way to share certain perspectives. You need to buy more coffee, you need to buy more tea, you need to buy more meals. Yeah.
So maybe I mean, some are already shared are pretty good, right? So, but I'll try to give a different perspective lah. For me, culture is definitely very important, right? In a very strong Asian culture where the boss always wins, right? So you don't want to kind of like challenge frontally, at least. But at least for me as a person, and especially maybe in the tech industry where too many things like you don't know, right? So I always want people to actually give a different perspective. Maybe challenge is not the correct term, right? So challenge means like you're confronting, right? But actually giving the different perspective straight away when you actually have a different thoughts, even though maybe you don't have solution or you don't think that you know what the boss is trying to do, right? But trying to give your own opinions, try to kind of like different perspective, maybe can it strengthen the idea of the boss? I think it's really important lah. Because then if you are too late and later on the boss found out why you didn't tell, I mean that also
So defeats the point. Hey, I hope you're enjoying Wise and Shine so far. I'm your host Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut, and for us to continue to do this show so that you become a tad bit wiser every week, you gotta like, share, subscribe, help us beat the algorithm. But even more importantly, if you can, comment in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts and also some questions that you would love us to answer. Yep, now back to the show.
One tactic I did when I first joined my company was to, I think I took about 1 month before I started raising stuff. Yeah. And that's because like it is tech, right? I took the belief that whatever ideas I have, I'm sure someone would have already thought of it before. So I'm sure there's a reason why it did not get implemented. I want to find out first. Instead of being the person saying, hey, how about this? Why is it like that? Why not this? Then the person like, you think we're stupid? We don't try before. So I go and talk to different departments and I ask like, hey, I think why is this feature like that? Why not this? And I understand that point of view. I hear first. Then at the end of the 1 month, right, when it's enough to show that I have done my part in understanding how the business works, hearing from the different businesses, department, and now I have a proposal as to how we should move forward. Then I present my suggestions. Yeah. And because I did that, I then learned that really some of the features I wanted to improve on already my boss already say.
Yeah.
But there was a reason why even she could not get it passed through. So at least,
A bit more difficult to implement.
then it was easier already to have that conversation versus like, because some bosses don't take very well to it when you just come out with a whole laundry list
No, it's
of
okay.
ideas.
So I defend the bosses, okay? So just to be clear, right? I think especially recently, it's very common to see people from, let's say, a big MNC join a fast-growing startup. Or someone from a fast-growing startup end up graduating into their own startup, or someone quit and join SME, or from SME join something. So you start to see people move from different size organizations and even cross fields, right? So a lot of these things are contextual, right? And while you have the domain knowledge, of whatever you do in where you are, a lot of times it's redundant by the time you come to my team, right? Like let's say someone from a very big, let's say a HR from a very big company, right? They think they know the process. So yeah, it's true. You work in the bank many years, you're good at it. But once you come to the startup, you try to implement the same thing, right? Nobody will love you. Out you go, right? So
that's
these
why understanding it first
exactly.
is important.
Exactly. So I must defend the boss. Right? We get a bit annoyed with some of these quick fix. People think like, hey, yeah, why you not do this? I know why you. I also know. I understand. But you try lah. You tell me.
I think there's a thin line between like when someone new comes in, there's always new and fresh perspectives.
Yes.
But
yes.
at the same time, not every perspective is fresh and
Yeah,
new.
yeah.
Sometimes has been considered, and that's the reason why that was not implemented. But you're the newbie, so you don't understand the reason.
Yeah. You cannot assume that people at the location itself have not thought about it or tested
Correct.
it. Right. It is what it is because it has been tested and get to where it is.
But I offer a perspective on this. But sometimes things has been tried and tested, right? Doesn't mean that, back then it doesn't work, right? Doesn't mean now it doesn't work. I think this is something that I like to raise because I have worked in many organizations. And sometimes when I share certain organization feedback, they will be telling me that they have done it before. They will show me records that they have done it before. But that was maybe like 3 years ago. And then I will always raise that question, that was done 3 years ago. Technology have changed. Things have changed. We have evolved. Now it's post-COVID era. Right? So things like this, right? So based on that contextual feedback and that new information that we have, right, we can probably form a better solution with these in mind.
Correct. But that's exactly what this is all about, ma. Because you considered that, yes, you have tried 3 years ago.
Correct.
But 3 years ago, this was the reason why it didn't work. Today, we have this. We should try. Last time, you want to use AI to do customer service bot, cannot lah.
But
Now can.
Now you don't use
try
bot, you're
again.
on. Right,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe one thing I would like to add, no matter what, right, when you try to challenge, give different perspective, I always suggest like do it respectfully lah. Don't forget this aspect, the manner, how you present, right? And don't put in emotion too much, like as if like, it is something very personal to you lah. So try to be respectful, even though you want to explain this has been done. So
No, and just to add on that, right? You need to understand that your boss, right, has been around, right? They have the political capital, right? In this environment that you play in, right? They know everybody. They are, a touch point with everyone. They can make your life very difficult, And, but they can also be your best supporter, right? So if you want to do something, which is why you even bother impressing your boss, right? So that they can hand the political capital that they have accumulated for a long time. It's as simple as I introduce you to the department head of the other team. I say good things about you. You know, she has done this, and another organization. We think she would be doing great things here. I know you're trying to do this, right? She's a great trusted person. Can you work with her? I set the whole stage for you, right? I draw half the political capital to you. You can get so much things done in his team.
Yeah, because influence.
And that's why you need to impress your boss. It is not just about your own incentives, you know, you want to promote or you want to wayang or all that, but it's just getting the things done, building that trust, you know, that is a big part of it, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I think communication, like what Henry said also, is very important. There are a lot of cases where I've seen new people come in and they try too hard to impress that they come up with all these new suggestions, but the way they communicate it is problematic. It's like why you never think of it? And then the instant response to the listener is, you think I stupid.
Yeah.
It triggers that kind of response versus have you considered this? And you're like, we've considered, but this was why it didn't work. And then having that two-way conversation. It's a very different way of delivering, and both leads to very different outcomes.
And I add a little bit to that, because I had a hire that did something like that, you know.
The negative one.
Yeah, negative one in front of the team, right? And then my head is like, what are you trying to do? Right? I get it. I know what you're saying, you know, but why you want to give me problem? Right?
But phrase it that way, yeah.
Okay, why do I say that? Because on a personal level, I do not care. You can say what you want to say. But within this structure, I need to lead, right? So I need to maintain some sort of a political power and position to lead, right? So if you try, maybe look back on the second day of hire, so,
It's kind of hard, yeah.
you essentially make my job difficult. It's nothing personal. I don't hate you, but you make my job difficult, then a bit annoying lah, right? Yeah. So it's not about like, oh, Asian is like that, Amor is like that. No. It's just different organization, their own culture, and even in the Amor land, right? I don't think you want to make your boss look like shit, you know, from the start, right? You want their support so that you can get things done, right? Ultimately, that is the goal.
Yeah. I think also another point I would add is the relationship part. So whether it's a 15-minute in tech or a go out for lunch, I always find it's very important because like what you said, right? You don't want to just be seen by your boss as another cog in the wheel. Okay, and it applies both ways, right? So one method that I learned from my current manager, which I think she does really well, is the fact that she turns every worker, every subordinate into a human. And how does she do that? It's really getting to know the person. So when I realized, because I've led teams, and I've led teams whereby, because I'm all about the efficiency, I don't really care about your backstory. Yeah, I don't care what sob story you have, how many dependents you have at home and all. To me, it's just like...
you want your boss to care.
No, so I'm talking from a point where back then I managed a team of 11. It's really too many already. I don't have time. No time to get to know 11 people, okay? I just need to know the number one. And to be honest, you ask me the number one out of the 11 who helped manage everyone also, I also don't know what is her personal story. And I realized that one limitation then was that when things happen, I jump to conclusions faster. Whereas when you know the person, you're a bit more understanding.
You give them more room.
Yes. Yeah, and I'll give one example for myself, right? I actually missed a work call, and I'm quite on the ball. Right, I will either tell my boss at the night before, 4 a.m. in the morning, or like 30 minutes before, 5 minutes before. I will always be able to account for it. But there was this one time where I had COVID and I totally slept through. I didn't even show up. Yeah. And my boss couldn't contact me. Because when I sleep, right, I actually airplane mode everything. Yeah, because I don't want a call to even wake me up until my alarm rings. So my boss couldn't find me. But then the big boss was also at the meeting. And my boss covered up. And then later on, right, when she was finally able to reach me, I messaged her, I'm so sorry I missed it. And she said she covered up. I'm like, oh wow. And she said, yeah, I knew you confirm have some reason. And it is that, you see that moment where I'm like, wow, luckily, right, I've been always very open and we built this relationship because that was a moment which could have killed off everything.
I mean, it could have jeopardized a lot of things, yeah.
Yes.
Fair.
Yeah. But for your direct manager, for the boss to cover your subordinate without knowing anything, it's total MIA leh. It all goes back to what you've done before.
Yeah.
I think it's also a lot of trust and you have built a relationship. I think that's a good point on relationship building. When you have built a strong relationship, right, even when things get tough, right, like there's still a level of like trust and understanding.
Correct. And it's always two-way. I've also dealt in workplaces where the boss was quite like draw the line. Then no one really knows anything about the boss. So all the messages and changes that she was trying to communicate, right, was received very badly. But later on, then someone actually took the effort to get know her better. And when that someone then stood up for her during the team lunches and all and explained, oh, actually, because she got this one, then her kid like that. And we became a bit more understanding. We could see their perspective more. Yeah, but that boss, that manager was not that great at communicating this, you see, because she's the kind where work is work, personal. I don't let things cross. But I believe sometimes you do need to have not cross, but you do need to have a bit of the personal knowledge. It does put things more into context, especially if you're a poor communicator, to run a bit smoother. So it's not always just about impressing. It's about building the relationship.
Fair. I
You
think
can-
impression is just that one time.
Correct. You
Okay.
impress on first day, then later no relationship, also no use. You might as well don't impress on the first day. You slow burn. But you really build the relationship.
Yeah. Dawn is the slow
Right? Because the
burner.
relationship not built overnight, And it's not first
Rome
impression.
was not built over a day.
It's true. So I think at the end, it's really about the context of the industry you're in, the situation of the boss when they come in, the subculture, the
personality.
personalities, all these. I think as you chart your path in your professional career, you get a little bit sharper, right? There's no full-time class to this, but you kind of learn over time what works, what doesn't, and if you need to make that adjustment, right? And I think it goes both ways. Like, as much as you want to think, your boss is like just coming down at you, actually a lot of times it's a two-side type of situation. Everybody wants to impress everybody with the goal of making things work lah.
Maybe to wrap this up, let's go in a round table. We can share about a story or an incident of a boss whom we saw make a good impression. Or a newbie, right? A newbie or someone made a good impression on every other stakeholder around. I can go first. For me, I remember there was one colleague, not boss, but she was quite senior lah. Okay, she was the boss of another department. When she came in, she was very smiley. And it's not overly smiley. So it was a very, she exuded a very warm vibe. And went around and she
Am I
really
very
took
smiley?
she took the effort when she shook everyone's hands, right, to repeat the person's name. And I love that because I realized that when you say the person's name back, you're trying to show an effort to remember the person's name. Obviously, she couldn't remember everyone, right? But she tried. And that act itself made everyone open up towards her. After I watched her do that, I tried to replicate it when I go into new environments already.
But did she live up to the hype after that?
She did. She was a great... Yeah, because I learned later on that there's this science, right? There's this human science branch where it
Something
talks
that
about how
is-
people's favorite word is their own name. So when you say that, you instantly open up something already.
For me wise, there's a few instances whereby some colleagues, when they first joined the organization, I feel really impressed by them. So one of which was in my recent previous organization. I remember 4 years ago, there was this new interim, someone that I'm reporting to that joined the organization. And I remember very clearly it was because when she first entered the organization, she wasn't like someone that is unapproachable. Like the from the get-go, her persona, her vibes was very approachable, although she's very professional. Yeah. And of course, over...
How do you be professional and
What did she do to give off that vibe?
It's just from the way that she...
It's like a sweet spot, Professional but approachable. It's like, where is this coming from?
From the way that she dressed and all this, you can tell that she's professional. But the way that she exuded her personality, she really showed that she cared about everybody in the organization. That kind of vibes, I feel like that's intangible. It's the way that she talks, she speaks, right? It's like you feel like you can instantly connect with her, as though there's no levels and boundaries. There's a level approachable, so it's very approachable. But yeah, at the same time, you know that she's your superior.
We
in
should
that
get a
sense.
behavioral scientist in to talk about this.
It's the intangible. So when I read books and I go for certain programs as well, it's always they talk about the message that they're sending across, that feeling. So that feeling of warm approachability was sent to us through her, even her gestures. And later on, as we worked together, she was also one of the best colleagues I worked with.
Okay.
Henry, have you...
I mean, maybe I'm just echoing what you said, right? Sometimes there are certain types of characters that, when you maybe look at them even, right? They exude some kind of charisma, or maybe sometimes all these behavior stuff like your body language, your sound, the way you speak, right? And maybe even I don't know, some kind of radiant, your face expression and all that. I think that could leave a lasting impression. I mean, outside of that, maybe one thing that I am always impressed with the new boss coming in is if their first message is always clear. They come with a certain maybe viewpoints, even though they don't know, they tell, I don't know the answer, but it's always clear where are the direction we are going as a team. I think I'm always impressed with that kind of leader because it shows that they have done their homework and they show that they can actually lead us, to whatever that we are doing, right? It could be, new profit or new channels or whatever that is. But we are clear with this boss, we may succeed together. Yeah, I'm always
May
impressed with
succeed.
that. Yeah.
Actually, on your story, I just thought of one more act or feature, which is I realized that if someone a newbie walks in and has glowy skin, instantly the vibe different.
Oh.
Yeah, glowy skin. It's not about like whether you have clear skin or acne or what. It's just the vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the glowing thing.
Yeah, it's the glow.
Yeah, the
No,
radiant.
Even they're mature looking, right? They can have a glow as well.
And I've seen male bosses with that glow. It really changes the way you look
It's
and
like an
are
aura.
perceived.
You're sending an aura message.
You really have a glowy aura.
Sometimes it's the energy, maybe like if the person is fit or maybe if the person is always positive, right? Sometimes this positive aura is...
I think we have to start working out so we can have the fit aura.
Positive
Okay,
glow.
but I've also seen people who are not so, like, they're a bit bigger, they're not so fit. Maybe
But they
because
still have the positive aura.
Yes. Because I realized, as you were talking about it, I realized they had that face glow. Whether it's makeup or natural, I don't know lah. But I think that glow really helps.
Maybe that's a very good point. I think it's that glow. Yeah. It's that feeling. It's that overall package, that feeling. Yeah. It's not whether the person is good looking or not. It's just that feeling.
Correct.
But ultimately, you want to be on the winning team, right? So you want a leader that has that, direction, that know what's going on and can give you that clarity. Whether or not ultimately they win, that's a different story, right?
So I have maybe a practical tips on this, right? Because this was my previous MNC's experience, right? The boss always thinks and speaks in 3 items. Make it 1, we are doing this, 2, this, 3, this. Whether it's made up 1, 2, 3, I don't know, but it's always clear. The message is clear. There are only 3 key points and people always remember 3 things, right? But try to convey it such that...
I always very scared when someone come with a 7 point. Like, these are the 7.
Cannot remember.
7. Just give me 3. Tell me your top 3,
Yeah.
right?
So this boss always speaks in 3 and very clear. And even repeat one
Good communication skills.
Yeah, one more
Yeah,
time.
that's a great strategy. All right, so we hope you guys have picked up some interesting tips, useful, practicable ones that you can action on after this
Enjoy your
episode.
resume.
Or you can share with us stories in the comment below what people did that you felt left a really good impression, and we can continue on that on another episode if we find. In the meantime, thank you for tuning in for today's episode of Wise and Shine, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.